Hey everybody, Moshe Rothschild here for the Global Israel Alliance, bringing you a summary of the news from Israel for the week ending Friday, August 9th. A special shout out to all the women from Momentum who just finished their amazing tour of Israel and were lucky enough to have me as their guide, and I was lucky to have you. So they are joining us now on our weekly update. So welcome to all the Momentum ladies. Summary of the news this week. This week, the Israel's Shin Bet, which is our equivalent of the FBI, they uncovered several Hamas terrorist cells. They had discovered a device that was meant to be detonated in Jerusalem, and luckily they uncovered this before any damage was done. Thank God for that. The West Bank Civil Administration, which is the committee that authorizes building in the West Bank. Remember, we use the word Judea and Samaria. They've also authorized a little over 2,000 new homes to be built here in Israel, which is pretty exciting news. Again, we call it Judea and Samaria, which is the biblical term, as opposed to the West Bank, because remember, this area of the country is neither the West Side nor is it a bank. You call it the West Bank if you're standing in Jordan and you refer to it as the West Bank, but it is actually Judea and Samaria, the most authentic and oldest Jewish place in the entire globe, even more authentically Jewish than Borough Park. This week, the Greek Orthodox Church has sued the Ateret Kohanim organization. Why? The Ateret Kohanim organization bought two beautiful, absolutely stunning hotels, the Imperial and the Petra Hotel, which are located right near the Jaffa Gate from the Greek Orthodox Church. The Greek Orthodox Church would not sell directly to Jews. Can anyone say apartheid? So it was actually a secret purchase. And when the Greek Orthodox Church found out who bought it, they eventually went to court. The Ateret Kohanim won, then it went to the Supreme Court. Ateret Kohanim won again, and now they are trying another route, but it looks like these beautiful hotels near the Jaffa Gate will now become under Jewish ownership. So it will be even better, in my opinion, than the King David. In the news, the Prime Minister Netanyahu said that there will be no unity government. Remember, there's an election coming up, September 7th. Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, by the way. And just to prove it, we're having elections twice this year. So September 17th in the new election, Netanyahu has said that he will not form a unity government, but rather he will retain the right-wing government that he has now. SpaceX, which is the Israeli space industry, kind of like NASA, they launched a satellite this week called the Amos 17, and it's a communication satellite and will help many countries in Africa with communications, and the satellite will be in business for more than 2 decades. Now, in very, very sad news, has just happened yesterday, Thursday morning. A 19-year-old student named Dvir Sorek, his body was found. Unfortunately, he was murdered not very far from my house. Although he lived in Ofra, but he was studying in this area in a pre-military academy or a military school. So he was technically considered a soldier, though he had never actually worn the uniform yet. But he was in a preparatory program, and it was extremely, extremely sad news. To have such a pure, innocent 19-year-old soul murdered. Now, quite honestly, people were very sad, but I felt great anger. Anger to the situation, anger perhaps even towards our own government, but we'll see what they end up doing in response. Of course, during the funeral last night, we Jews, we bury the same day whenever possible. The Arab villages who are around Ofra, which were the funeral was taking place, were shooting off fireworks, and Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, they of course praised the killing of this 19-year-old Jewish student. But that, my friends, is unfortunately the situation we're dealing with. We are a very nice country, but we're just in a bad neighborhood. This week, the Israeli Attorney General Avichai Mendelblit, he recommended to indict former Arab-Israeli member of Knesset, Hanan Zoabi, for fraud and corruption. The newspaper Haaretz reported this week that she's suspected of using fake documents, falsifying corporate documents, and money laundering, the big three. Remember, Zoabi, she was the one that was went on the Mavi Marmara, which was that flotilla that came from Turkey. She's always been undermining Israel, even though she actually served in our Knesset. Now, incredibly, the U.S. State Department this week updated their definition of anti-Semitism to include statements that compares Israeli policy to Nazi policy, which actually was, in fact, a statement made by Rashid Tlaib, congresswoman from Michigan, over the last couple of weeks. So technically, according to the U.S. State Department, she is officially an anti-Semite. Now, 2 feel-good stories for this week. We sometimes give you one, but this week we're going to go with 2. In 2016, well, this is not the feel-good part of it, but there was a terrible terrorist incident. Rabbi Mickey Mark and his wife Chava were attacked, and Mickey Mark was murdered, and there were kids in the car. And in 2016, an unnamed 28-year-old man and his wife, who has a nursing degree, were traveling in the vicinity of Hebron near this terrorist incident, which took place July 1st, 2016, and they helped protect the children from the other terrorists who were in the area. Now, just recently this week, they received officially Israeli citizenship for this incredible heroic act. And the final story, feel-good story this week, researchers this week at the Tel Aviv University announced they've developed a vaccine for skin cancer, for melanoma, which is the most aggressive form of skin cancer. So this is Moshe Rothschild wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, a wonderful Sabbath from the Global Israel Alliance, from the hills of Israel, from the hills of Judea. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. All the best.